Hello and welcome to Ongea Dada's YouTube channel, where we encourage, inspire and strengthen women and especially widows to amplify their authenticity and become a better version of themselves. Losing a spouse can be a very challenging and overwhelming experience, and therefore it's very crucial for the widow to have information on how she can navigate through the succession process so that she can protect her interests as well as those of her children. Now, to shed light on this very important topic, we are privileged to have an advocate who is going to empower us and share more insights on how we can navigate through this process effectively. Karibu sana Praxi, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Liz, and thank you for this opportunity to be on this platform. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya by the name Praxedes Kageha Allah. I have 4 years of experience post-admission, and I'm definitely glad to address the issues that we may face as ladies in one circumstance or another, and I'm hopeful that I'll be of help today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's just delve into the topic right away. So I just lost my husband. What's the initial process that I should follow?
Well, when loss occurs, of course, it comes with it an emotional baggage that we need to deal with. But there's also the procedural things. There are the necessary things that we need to do. So if you were aware of the assets that your spouse had, it is important that you notify the various stakeholders. For instance, if it's a SACCO, if it's an employer, if it's the bank. Basically, if you are aware of your spouse's assets, you need to promptly notify them of the death. And of course, as your spouse, definitely we are hopeful that that happened, that you are probably listed as a next of kin or not. You may be listed as a next of kin or not, but just for safety's sake, it's crucial that you really do let those stakeholders know of the demise of your spouse.
How soon should I do this?
As soon as yesterday. Immediately you get your burial permit, you can notify them, because all the stakeholders will ask for is proof of death. And the first official proof of death you can have is a burial permit. And then now, after you have received, of course, once you submit the burial permit, you will have notified them. Depending on who that is or which institution that is, they have their own procedures. Upon notification. So they might have you sign a few forms here and there, just so that it can be on their record that so-and-so has lodged a notification of death of one of their members or one of their employees. So you need to do it as soon as you have the earliest, or rather the first proof of death you can get.
Now, take for instance, I'm this woman in the village or somewhere, I don't know where to start. I just lost my husband, I probably have buried. So how do I go about, what's the first step I should take?
Okay, village setup, secure all the original documents. As funny as it may sound, as aggressive as it may sound, as greedy as it may sound, secure all original documents. Because trust me, however late you may be in pursuing whatever processes, nothing can move elsewhere without the original documents. Yeah. So if you have title deeds, secure them. Make sure you know where they are. If you have your spouse's original identity card, secure it. Because then you will know when the burial permit is procured, you will know when the death certificate comes. Because you cannot be granted a death certificate without the original ID. So you need to secure all the originals. Yes. As much as you can get,
Okay, so please take us through the succession process, because sometimes where the death is unforeseen, there is no will, and sometimes there is a will. So please take us through that process.
Okay, well, I'll start with where there is no will. Because definitely when there's a will, you may not even know. You'd probably see an advocate coming or the trustee, whoever was granted the privilege of keeping the will appearing after the death, and you can't control really when they come. So you would probably not know.
Yes.
So let me start with when there is no will.
Yes.
So if there's no will, of course you'll go through the whole process after burial. You'll go process the death certificate, sorry.
Yes.
So once you have the death certificate, you need to go to the chief, the area chief.
Yes.
You can use either, let me give two scenarios. There's one who was staying in Nairobi, but then they have a rural home.
Yes.
And there's one who's staying at home.
Exactly.
In the rural home.
So which one do I go to?
Now, either for one who stays in Nairobi, was staying in Nairobi and buried at home, or staying at home and buried there, either chief can work.
Yes.
Because so long as you can prove you were resident there, yeah, so you can go to the area chief of where that person was resident.
Okay.
Yeah, so that really does not have any limitations. Or you may choose to go to the rural home, because that's where eventually most of the things would be.
Yes.
Most of the dependents can also be traced from there, in the sense that you see family members, you know, the rural area chiefs, they know a lot about families, so their information is more trusted and unchallengeable.
Okay.
And unchallengeable. So after you have your death certificate, you get a letter from the chief. Now with that, there are some forms that you need to fill.
Okay.
Yes.
What is this letter? What are the contents
of the chief's letter?
Yes.
Okay. Now the chief's letter just says that so and so died.
Yes.
At this place, resident at this place. Even if you're a resident in Nairobi, the letter can say that he died resident in this particular place, but he originates from this area. He had this number of wives, this number of children, this number of siblings, depending on, okay, sometimes, you know, most of the time we actually truly dictate what, in terms of dependence, we dictate what goes into the letter. But ideally, the letter should just say the spouse and the dependents. Let me just say generally dependents, because dependents, the term dependents covers quite an extensive group of people. So it needs to cover the dependents and the assets if they are known. And liabilities if they are known.
So for the benefit of this discussion, please expound a bit. Who are these dependents?
Okay.
Because they could be siblings, maybe who he was paying school fees for.
Yeah.
His parents, are they dependents? His siblings? Who is a dependent?
Well, let me start by picking on the actual definition of a dependent. Okay. A dependent is anyone who relies on you.
Okay.
Anyone who can establish a form of reliance or a form of dependency, if I may use the same word.
So even if there is an old auntie who was
relying on you, yes, they can. Yes, they can claim dependency. I like using this example. Well, let me list first.
Okay.
Of course, now a normal case scenario, dependents would be first the wife, second the children, third the parents, fourth I say children, yeah?
Yes.
So fourth the siblings, the siblings. Then any other person comes after that. Now, an example I like using is you'd find a situation where probably you've gone to the rural home and they tell you, you know what, there's this girl who's really been struggling to pay fees, and she's a performer in school, and we really have lacked someone to just sponsor her education. And out of goodwill, you pick the girl up, you school her, you practically care for her. She can claim dependency.
Wow.
Yeah, she can claim dependency. So dependency, sometimes we also pick, you can pick someone, bring them to your home, treat them as one of yours, though they are not your children, and though they are not even adopted, because for adopted children, they'll be considered as children under the category of children, not others. Yeah, they'll be considered as children under the category of children. So if you pick someone from the rural home, you bring them in as your own and tender for them as your own, trust me, they can claim dependency.
And the law will recognize them as dependents.
Yes. But now the burden of proof now goes a little bit higher because they have to now prove the dependency.
The dependency.
But the moment they prove the dependency,
yes,
they will be part of it.
okay.
Yes.
No, okay. You were...
Yeah, so basically those are dependents. And then wives, you know, the law says wives. It doesn't say first wife, second wife, third wife.
Yes.
Now it brings a bit of I don't know whether to call it a confusion, or especially to us laymen. Yeah, it brings a confusion because you'd say I'm the legal wife. You get, but then you realize there were other wives who were treated as wives with the children.
With children, yes.
They are still dependents. They may not be recognized as wives under the Marriage Act. Take, for instance, you got married via wedding,
yes.
a Christian, either a Christian or a civil marriage.
Yes.
You see, they are monogamous, yeah? But then somehow in the life of that man,
yes.
they end up getting a second wife. Under the marriage laws, that second lady is not a wife because the first type of marriage did not allow for a second wife. You get?
Yes.
But when it comes to succession, they are wives.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, that's the difference.
And what if it was a customary marriage?
A customary marriage is polygamous by nature.
Okay.
Yes.
So they will be recognized.
They'll be recognized as wives, both in the marriage laws
yes.
and in the succession laws. Now, the reason why that happens is for wives who tend to claim matrimony upon separation. That's where the distinction comes in. But when it comes to succession, the distinction is not there. So stepchildren, children out of wedlock,
yes,
they are still dependents.
Okay.
Yes, they're still dependents. So if you see a mama coming up and they're carrying a baby at the burial and they're like, you know, ni mtoto wake, you do a DNA and it is positive, they're dependents.
And that child has an equal right.
Equal. Thank you for mentioning that. Equal.
Equal right.
Yes.
As the children of the
marriage.
Yes.
The legal marriage. Yes. The child will have equal.
Interesting.
Now, for the mother, if it is a child outside wedlock, for the mother, it's debatable. Now, the mother will have to prove dependency.
Okay.
Yes, the mother will have to prove dependency for her to claim part of the property to be a dependent. But the child, whether they prove dependency or not, so long as paternity is assured, they have equal rights. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. So I have gone to the chief, I have the letter, then?
Now, depending if you have access to legal services, get yourself an advocate. There are forms to be filled. Now, there's an additional requirement to have...
What if I can't afford?
Well, if you can't afford an advocate, we have associations, we have institutions that provide free legal assistance, like Kituo cha Sheria. You can approach Kituo cha Sheria. You can approach FIDA. You can probably even just walk to court and tell the court you need assistance in filing. Yes, there are some who have successfully done that. Yes. There are some who have successfully done that. So they will assist you draft the requisite forms and affidavits for signing. Now, there's an additional requirement that I had forgot to mention. You need to, of course, know the value of the estate, including the liabilities.
Okay.
So, say, for instance, they had cash at bank, they had land, they had shares. You need to estimate the value. It's not necessary that you do an actual formal valuation unless the value is contested. You know, there are some succession processes that end up being contested, by family members and all that. But where it's not contested, even when it's contested, at least at the initial stage, you can estimate. And then less the liabilities, you need to set them out there. And then you need to get 2 guarantors.
Okay.
two guarantors who will just, it's a formality. I mean, rarely would you find them being held liable. You understand the actual meaning of a guarantor, yeah? Just to guarantee that they will ensure the process will go on well. And should it not go well, they guarantee to chip in with a particular sum of money.
Okay.
Yes. So it is also advisable that when applying for the letters of administration,
Yes.
depending on how big the family is or the number of dependents, you get at least 2 administrators.
Okay.
At least 2. That, in essence, provides or makes room for fairness in the process.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So who gets to choose these administrators?
Family,
Family.
I may say.
Okay.
Family, I may say. For the direct ones, for the normal ones, the wife, of course, in consultation with the parents and the siblings, should it get to the larger extent. Yeah. But we have contested ones, you have to sit as a family. Best case scenario. But of course, if the wife goes to court to get letters of administration, she'll be listened to. She still has the right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So I have the chief's letter. I have filed the forms. I have filled the forms.
Now, after you fill the forms, now the court will assess. You'll of course pay.
I have listed the assets.
You've listed the
and
assets
the liabilities.
And the liabilities. You've listed the dependents. Yes.
Yes.
Now the court will, of course, take in and give you a case number. You have to take now the forms for gazettement at the publishers, yeah? So to be published in the Kenya Gazette. So it's published for 90 days.
Wow.
Yes. Now the publishing is meant to give room for anyone who wants or would wish to either object or be included in the whole process. Yes.
This 90
days.
Okay.
This window.
Yeah.
Of course, I have reservations for that because unless otherwise, would you know how to access the Kenya Gazette? Do you have an idea?
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is kind of, I really do not understand the reasoning behind it, but I find it to be not so relevant. Because how many people would really access the Kenya Gazette? Unless I inform you now, of which I do, there's always publishing that is done every Friday of the week.
Oh,
and you can access it through the Kenya Law website. There is a segment for the Kenya Gazette. So from there you can access. So you need to be checking every Friday. Again, it's not practical for the layman at home. You're not really so much of a layman, but you still couldn't tell how to access the Kenya Gazette. So I find it to be a not so relevant process. I'd rather they publish in the Daily Nation,
exactly.
Standard. That way you're sure it will circulate countrywide. But either way, the fact that you may not get hold of information at that particular time does not mean when you know later, past the 90 days, you won't be accommodated. If you get to learn about it later, of which most would learn when now the process of distributing the property is happening, you know. When you realize, hey, by the way, you see people are coming to survey your land, you're like, mnafanya nini hapa? Like, si shamba inauzwa. You follow up, you realize, a brother went to court and filed for succession. The mother went to court and filed for succession. Or if you're a dependent in any other capacity, you find out that the widow went to file for succession, yet you had a claim. Still, if you go to court at that particular time to object, you will still be listened to. That's the beauty about it. Yeah, so post the gazettement, you now print the Kenya Gazette, the portion where your matter appears, and then go back to court. You file it in court, take a date, the court will confirm. Now, the process of confirmation is also quite different. It's another process also. All the beneficiaries must be in court. Yes, because they have to agree. You remember we listed the dependents?
Yes.
Yes, we listed the dependents. And when you're confirming, you have to tell court how you intend to distribute the property.
Okay.
And that's what now all these beneficiaries come to confirm. So they must literally be in court. And should they not be able to be in court, they need to swear affidavits of consent.
Okay.
So it's basically an affidavit saying, I am aware this process is going on. I am aware of how the property is eventually going to be distributed, and I agree.
Okay.
I'm not able to come to court in person because of 1, 2, 3. Yes.
So after 90 days is when we get the confirmation of grants.
Yes, the grant is issued.
Yes.
And then it's confirmed. There is the grant itself.
Oh, the grant.
There
yes.
is the grant
the
itself.
letters of grant.
The letters of administration. Now, those letters of administrations are which is what is now confirmed. But before it is confirmed, there needs to be a mode of distribution of property, and all the beneficiaries need to confirm and agree.
Okay.
Yes.
So supposing we've done all this process, then I come across some asset that I wasn't aware about, but the process is already going on, and I discovered there was land somewhere that I didn't list. Can I still include this property?
Yes, you can still include, including even beneficiaries.
Or even beneficiaries.
Even beneficiaries. Say, for instance, a good case scenario, you realize there was a child out of wedlock, and yes, truly they need to be accommodated. Well, you can still apply to have them for the grant to be rectified, to include the property, to include the beneficiary, or even to correct something.
Yeah. Oh.
Sometimes you could have listed, I experienced an interesting situation not so long ago, where the property was not properly named, It was a parcel of land. So I went through the process. We were at the lands office. Final stage, the registrar checks the title deed and checks the grant and realizes the two are not the same. So we had to go back to court and correct that. Yes.
And it's still a process.
Yes, but then you don't have to still gazette. You just file an application. The court will listen to it. Should it be necessary, the beneficiaries may be asked to come and confirm again. Yeah, but now it's judged on a case-to-case basis, but it's not as lengthy. You don't have to go back to the chief and all that. No,
okay.
No, okay. You don't have to. But you have to state the reasons why that is happening at that point. Yeah.
I deal with widows, and sometimes I come across widows who, just after the burial, someone was chased away by the family. What are the rights of such widows? Where can they get help? How can they be assisted? Or you've heard of people who come when the burial arrangements are going in, the widow is thrown away, or they take the ID, they run away, such kind of things. What are the rights of a widow, or how can she navigate through that?
Well, of course, and unfortunately, the only best case scenario is going to court to get restraining orders of whatever nature, either to restrain them from chasing you away, because, say, for instance, if it is the house we built, the house we've been living in, that's matrimonial property. I'm still entitled to it in one way or another. So you can go to court, not necessarily through a succession process. This is now getting just normal restriction orders. Yes. So the restriction orders would basically, now of whatever kind of nature, either they be restricted from chasing you away, they be forced to include you in the burial plans. We've had situations where actually burials have been stopped for issues to be sorted out. So it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. The best case scenario is to go to court.
Okay. And in the village?
Well,
or you go to the local, where do you go to?
Now you can go to court.
Still?
Yeah, go to court, find someone there to explain yourself to. They'll direct you, or to the police station. But the police won't necessarily help because you need orders.
Yes.
The only thing that can be enforced there is an order. Now you need to go to court to actually even get an order authorizing the police to protect you.
Oh, okay.
You can
Yes.
say, for instance, get a restraining order or an injunction barring them from getting you out
Yeah.
of the house, and command the OCS of that area to enforce in case there's a breach. So in case
Okay.
somebody comes to chase you out of the
Yes.
house, you can call the police, the area police, and they can come because you have an order.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. So now we have the grant. Then now eventually how long does this approximately this process take?
So take away the 90 days for gazettement. Of course, preparation of forms depends on the aggressiveness of the advocate you choose, or the guys who will assist you, whether to Sheria or at the courts. But give or take 4 months before and after. Now, after gazettement, it also now depends on the court's diary, because remember, you have to get a date. So again, depending on the court station.
And we hear there are backlogs.
Well, there are some courts that are giving dates in April 2024.
Wow.
Yes, now you go to court and you're slapped with a hearing date of 2024 and you're still in July.
So I
But
have to
that's a
wait.
hearing date. But for such issues, they are given some form of priority, quote unquote. So it may not be that far, say maybe 2 months at most. Say we are in July, and also depending on the timing, you see, courts will go for a recess in August.
Yeah.
So if you go to court right now and ask for a date, you probably would be given late September or early October. Yes. So depending on the time you approach court. So I may not fix an exact
Exactly, yeah.
timeline for the complete process. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Interesting. So we have who decides how this property will be distributed? Is it the court or the family sits down and agrees?
It's the family.
Oh, it's the
The
family.
court has no business managing family property. It's
And
the
where the
family.
family doesn't agree?
Well, it depends on who has the strongest say. Yeah. Unfortunately, it depends on who will bulldoze the best.
I thought the widow has higher rights or something.
They have higher rights. If they feel they're being oppressed, they apply in court. You see, for instance, you can see that probably the process is going on, yes, but you do not agree with the mode of distribution.
Yes.
You can apply to court, and the court will now judge based on the fairness, and that's where now the dependents come in, the dependency levels come in. They'll check, okay, you are the widow, you have children to maintain.
Yes.
Of course, you deserve the highest.
Yes.
As opposed to a mother who may also have other children. In fact, the widow
Who can support her.
Or even if not, she has her own husband who ought to provide for her. Whether he's available or not, she ought to have inherited from the late husband in that case scenario. Yeah. So if the mode of distribution is contested, that's where the court comes in to check on the fairness of who deserves what. And that's how we ended up getting judgments like girls have equal rights as boys. Because some girls, at some point, girls were like, no, we also need to inherit part of our parents' properties. And the court was like, yes, they're children like any other. Because initially, it would be that the presumption was girls will later on get married and they will have a place to attach to, as opposed to boys, which is actually even traditional, you know. Men automatically inherit in their father's land and continue their father's generation, but women get married away. That used to be the presumption some time back. But now, empowerment of ladies, we are equal. So it depends again. That does not mean that's a cast on stone rule that ladies must get equally. If the family sits and they feel they divide their property, otherwise giving their daughters less, it's still okay so long as the daughters agree. Yes.
Okay. Now that is where there was no will.
Yes.
If there's a will?
If there's a will, it's simple. You get the will, go to court, apply still for the letters of administration, but notifying that it has a will attached to it. The will only comes in handy when it comes to the mode of distribution and who is the administrator, but you still need to get
So with
letters
the
of
will, we will still
administration.
go through the same.
Same,
You still go to
same.
the chief,
Yes.
apply for the letters
Yes.
of administration, and
Yes, the process
Okay.
still
Means
remains
the same.
The only difference is the mode of distribution is already decided.
Yes.
Who
guess
distributes
what?
is already also decided.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. And of course, if you are contesting the will,
Yeah,
then
sometimes.
you need to be vigilant and go to court. They later on get a child out of wedlock. You see, that child is still entitled to property, and they're not
Yes.
provided for under the will. Yeah.
So it can be contested.
It can be now positively. You can still apply to court to have them included. Now, in situations, we have now negative situations where somebody is just malicious. They want to make sure they have gotten a bit of the property,
Yeah.
or people even force their loved ones to write wills.
Yeah.
So because there are a will has its own components that it needs to meet for it to be valid.
Oh,
So I have to be sound. I have to be sound for me to write a will.
Yes.
You get? So you'd find sometimes, because people are chasing their own interests, they realize this guy is actually really dying, and they go there with a pen and paper and make them write.
Right, yeah.
If I can prove that person was not in a position to write a will, I can invalidate
That's
it, and it's acceptable.
Okay.
Yes. If, for instance, somebody was again malicious, they coerced. Unfortunately, there are children or dependents
Yes.
who really literally harass their parents.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they get the favorable wills. So a will needs to be witnessed. So I can't be a beneficiary and still witness that will.
Oh.
Unless I add another witness now who is not a beneficiary too. Because ideally a will must be witnessed by two witnesses.
Yes.
So if I'm also a beneficiary and a witness, two more witnesses need to sign that will. So the qualifications or qualities of a will are really quite distinct.
Yes.
And it's easy to challenge, it's easy to pinpoint. Yeah. Situations where maybe a property was left out, such kind of things. So there are positive things that make a will invalid, and there are negative ones as well. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.